This week's guest is a major talent, and we've come back to LA to find her. She has sang with uh, famous opera companies as well as had a stellar solo career. And as you'll find out as we go on, she has used this time of the pandemic to do some wonderful things. And if she has a golden voice, she has a heart made out of diamonds. And with that, I introduce you to Nandani Sinha.
Oh, Lauren, thank you. Thank you. What a very sweet introduction. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, things look beautiful in your home environment and like you're ready to make some music, actually. I think I see a piano back there. Maybe I can dive back there and uh, play a few
Yeah.
notes with you.
Oh, that'd be awesome. And then we have like some guitars and ukuleles and some fish, musical fish. But we have a number of instruments in the house.
Oh, okay. So you could literally set up an orchestra up there, I guess, sometime, or at least a
That's the
luau
plan.
band.
That's the plan. One day.
Neat. Well, we're here to talk about all things musical. Plus, as I said, we're kind of teasing out some special things you have on your plate that we do want to give special attention to because they are so important for society. But if you don't mind, let's start with your upbringing and what drew you to music in the first place.
Sure. So I was raised by two immigrant parents in the United States, and my mother's from Germany and my father's from India, and they met in New York. And I have three siblings, and we grew up in a very musical household. Everything we did involved music. If my mom, I think to organize four of us, it was, and we were all very close in age, from the eldest to the youngest. It's about 6 years in age difference. And so, since there were so many of us, the easiest way, I guess, to organize us was rhythmically and with music. And so we had a song for washing, we had a song for cleaning up, we had a song for brushing our teeth, we had a song for potty training, we had a song for getting in the car, driving in the car. There was always music in our house. And my parents always provided ample musical instruments. I think between my siblings and I think there are about 6 or 7 instruments that we all played at one point in time. And voice, um, voice just seemed to fit. I mean, even through my college years, I was um, minoring in piano as well as majoring in voice, and it initially was a major or a kind of a splitting my time between the two things pretty evenly, until one day I was in a performance in just a noontime performance at my college that we had to do for credit in our discipline, and I froze and I couldn't remember what happened next, and I could feel the blood creeping up my face and just sweating profusely, not knowing what was next in this Bach invention that I was supposed to be playing. And it finally occurred to me that, you know what, maybe piano is not the way that I'm going to be going with this. Because when I was singing, and if I made a mistake, I could easily do something that would get me right back into the song, and pretty almost flawlessly, that no one noticed. I mean, we all have our moments when we're the better at it, more skillful at it than not. But with the piano, I just found that I would freeze, and I didn't quite know what to do next. And my brain just kind of shut down and didn't know what to do next. So from there, I thought, okay, if this is becoming habitual, maybe that's a sign. Maybe voice is the way that I'm supposed to go. So I stuck with voice, and I found that what drew me to it the most was the ability to communicate, and to communicate honestly, about feelings, emotions, things that were going on. In college, I was drawn to art song and messages in art song about loss and war, and specifically in Mahler. Mahler, I was really drawn to. I don't quite know why, but I have a real affinity for Mahler. Mahler art song, and also symphonic work. And so there I stayed, and I was a double major for a long time in medicine and music. I was going to be a doctor. My father from India kept saying to me, "Okay, so music is for fun. What do you want to do for real? What would you really like to do?" And I kept saying, "Well, I like music. I still like music." And it seemed to stick. And one day in gross anatomy class, it just occurred to me that this was not how I wanted to spend my time. This was not how I felt I could be most useful in the world. And I finished with a music degree and then moved to Los Angeles, where I ended up staying and spending my time, and then working a little bit in radio for KUSC, and then eventually going back for a master's degree and working with LA Opera. And from there, things just really started to take off. I was traveling all over the world and singing. I've sung in Africa, and I've sung on almost every single continent except Australia. So that I still like to do that. But that's pretty
Certainly the
much
opera
the
house for it.
genesis. Yes, but that's pretty much the genesis of my music choices and my career. It was something that felt so innate that I had to do it.
What an interesting choice, though, between med school and music. But obviously, your passion must have been for the music.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it was my father always said, "Okay, do something that's going to protect you and keep you, stable, and just, that you have a foundation and a career." And my mother always said to me, "Do what makes you happy. Everything else will come. Just do what makes you happy." And I really took that to heart. Um and medicine, even though it was interesting, and I still, later we'll talk about that, I still use it to this day, in a lot of ways, in my teaching, in my my company, that we'll talk about later. And even right now during pandemic, I'm using a lot of knowledge that I picked up in medical school, and that still follow through some of my professors. And it's always going to be interesting to me. So it just, I didn't toss it. I just kept it for a while.
So you're a mezzo soprano, and of course there are different grades of soprano. But were you? Is that how you started out? Is that something that you found? What How did you find your voice? I've heard lots of different stories of people who change or adapt.
So I started as a soprano, and that was in high school when I was doing pre college music programs. Um, and I started as a soprano, and then as I got older, I found out I had this lower extension. And in my bachelor's degree, I had a teacher who was so excited about my lower extension that he was trying to make me an alto or contralto, and it just didn't seem to stick. So after I left my bachelor's degree, I had a little bit of repair that had to be done because I lost a lot of high notes. I had very consistent B flats, B's, and C's, up to D, until we started working a lot more in the contralto range. And then when I moved out here to Los Angeles, I saw a couple of teachers, and actually one of my biggest the people that helped me with my technique was Vladimir Chernoff, and he helped me figure out that wherever you are in the day, morning, noon, or night, whatever the rep is that is the easiest for you to sing, that you could wake up singing, you can go to bed singing, you can sing after a meal with general ease, that is your voice type. And for me, that was mezzo soprano. And initially it was coloratura mezzo soprano. And then we discovered that I had a tumor. I had a thyroid tumor, and it was actually impinging on my airway, and growing inward rather than outward. It was about the size of a Roma tomato, and I had a surgery, had it taken out, and now all of a sudden my voice turned into a dramatic mezzo. So
Wow.
that was how that happened. And instead of singing Rossini and Vivaldi and Bach, frequently I was now moving into some Verdi and Strauss, and heavier Mahler, bigger repertoire, because my there was the space to do it now.
Now, as an opera singer, of course, you have to go through all this voice instruction, but I'm assuming there's a lot more to it than just voice. I mean, is there dramatics? Is there dialect? Is there, I mean, what's the kind of extracurricular curriculum that you have to take on to be a really good opera performer on stage?
So, absolutely languages. I was very lucky with my schooling. I had French, Italian, and German and Latin. So that was a big help. Those were from my elementary school days. I had all of that. So that was a big help. And then eventually, as my career started going, I found that I had just general facility with languages. So I picked up a little bit of Mandarin and I picked up a little bit of Russian and I picked up a little bit of Hungarian here and there, and Hawaiian. And from there, all of a sudden, I became um, a commodity as a singer. And people wanted, I got called on a lot by the Chinese embassy to sing for special engagements and for television programs because I had some knowledge of Mandarin. So that was interesting. And then the same with Hungarian and the same with Hawaiian, and just all of a sudden I'm getting called to do some specialty work that I never would have done otherwise because I just or and Russian as well. I've done 3 Eugene Onegins at this point because I studied Russian and I actually took the time to learn Cyrillic and to learn how to pronounce things properly. Went to a coach, took classes. And also in Mandarin, had a private tutor who I was working with, and that was just for my own brain. That was for my own fun. Um, it's one thing to just mimic sounds, and it's another thing to really understand what you're saying and how you're saying it and why you're saying it. And I think that makes the difference in a good singer or a good imitator, and then someone who's really trying to convey and communicate an idea or a mood or a setting or a story. So
Uh,
there's a lot of language. And then I've had dance for most of my life, from ballet to point to jazz to ballroom dancing. And I don't do any of that now. Currently, I'm a hula dancer, so I dance a lot of hula, and for me, that I love it. That's where my heart is, and it actually, for funny enough, it paid off having this expertise in hula in the last Eugene Onegin I sang about 2 years ago, where I was singing Philip Nieva, and the director asked that she be kind of hunched over and lower instead of I'm about almost 5'10", and I was towering over people, and no one was really buying the fact that I was an older woman. So they asked if I could change a little in my physicality. And the ability to walk and stay lower, a little bit lower, and have that consistency and have that strength in my quads and my hamstrings and my glutes is thanks to hula. So that's been a tremendous help. And then aside from that, I did take in school, I did a lot of acting method and Stanislavski and a lot of other methods. Just they kind of give us a smorgasbord, if you will, of acting technique in school. And some of it I kept up outside for fun, for community, for keeping your chops, you know. And also learning to play the piano, so this way I could accompany myself and not have to go see someone who would plunk out a melody for me. I could be responsible for that alone. And from there, I picked up the ukulele, which just is fun. And if I ever play, I'm not sure it'll ever happen at this point in my career, but if I ever have to play a singer who needs to play the guitar or something like that, I now know exactly how to move my hand, and I just won't keep it there, which looks fake, you know. So
sure.
all these little things.
I'm just sitting here amazed trying to figure out when you sleep. All of these talents you've
Too.
acquired
Me too.
is just incredible. You know, do 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 us a favor. Let us clue us into what it is like for you as a singer, uh, and you've been selected for a role in an opera. what is it? What is your life like up until the time the stage opens for that first performance? What are you going through?
Um, so the first thing you do is you celebrate. I absolutely believe that because there is so much in our career as singers or as musicians that we hear that's critical, that is okay, so just adjust this, fix this, do it this way. That any moment to celebrate something exciting, I think is important. So the first thing I would do is celebrate when I find out. So my husband and I will either pop a bottle of champagne or have a nice dinner or something just to celebrate the fact that it's going to happen. And then the next thing I do is I go grab a score. I get a hold of a score as fast as possible and I start marking up the score. And my score ends up looking like it ends up looking like a art project for an elementary school child, I suppose. I have different color highlighters that I use to tell me um, tempo changes, meter changes, dynamics that are so very important, mood changes, scene changes, all the things that help you tell the story. And from there, after I've marked up my score, I look at it and I try to determine what is the most difficult thing in the score. And from there, I go see a coach. And the coach and I will work together through the piece. Usually for me, I like to front load the hardest singing. It also helps build up stamina. Then I'll have a longer period of time to work on that stamina. So, for example, when I did Cenerentola, I didn't realize this, but by the time we got to the staging in Cenerentola by Rossini is it's Cinderella, the Cinderella story. Her big aria happens at the very end of the opera, and this is after she has been singing duets, quartets, trios, running here, running there, doing this, doing that, scene change, costume change. The very end of the opera, when you are the most exhausted, is when Rossini decided, here's your big number. So, it's such a showstopper that if you do not have the stamina to do it, it it's kind of like a souffle that doesn't stay up. It's such a bummer. And people have sat through this entire opera and they're just waiting for this moment. And then it's, oh, so you can't let people down and you can't let yourself down as a performer. You really want that moment to shine and sparkle and just be tremendous. So in that case, I ended up doing, depending on the role, and usually I get to chat with a director closer before we go into rehearsals, just for to get a kind of an idea of what the physicality is going to be of the character, and a little idea of the set, what's going to happen with the set. So for Cenerentola, I ended up learning this aria and then going to the gym and running on the treadmill while singing the aria because this director had me moving so much up staircases and down staircases during this aria that I needed to make sure I wasn't going to be out of breath. So, there's a little bit of physical work that I like to do to make sure that I'm not going to hurt myself or that I'm not going to run out of stamina, run out of energy, so I can see the roll through to the end. And So I'm working with a coach. I'm doing some physical training. I talk to the director. I talk to the music director. I'll usually coach with the music director a little bit to get an idea of what kind of sound what they want. And then first day of rehearsal, it's the first day of school. Everybody gets to know each other and form a lovely bond, a little family. And usually we're all far away from our homes, or a little bit far away from our homes. So we become a little family, and we get to know each other and spend some time with each other during rehearsals, outside of rehearsals, during meals. Or, there's some of us, sometimes you're just exhausted and it's a lot. It's a lot to do. If I was going to do the prima role in something, I don't know if I would be as chatty. Singing a secondary role, sometimes I'm a little more chatty and I feel comfortable. I don't need to save as much energy. I can spend some time bonding with my castmates, a little more time rather bonding with my castmates. And then rehearsals happen. You have staging, you have singing on book, off book. You add chorus, you add orchestra for a Sitzprobe and or a Wandelprobe. And then from there, we have tech rehearsals where all the lights and the costumes and makeup, wigs, everything happens. And then next thing you know, it's opening night. And so it's a big push to this almost birthing process of this magical thing that we call opera and we call theater. And then right after that, it's time to celebrate again.
And how much fun is the costuming process?
um, it can be a lot of fun. I have to say some operas I've done, some experimental operas or newer operas, and sometimes uh, the costuming will make you question your life choices. Like, did I really need to eat a hamburger today? Um, but but uh, but usually the costumers and the directors, they're just there to really to make you feel comfortable and help you tell the story better. And everybody that I've ever run into, if I ever feel insecure about anything, or if I ever feel like something's gonna fall or drop, or it's not tight enough, or it's too tight, everybody has always been so incredibly accommodating. It's so lovely.
And so, what roles have been your favorite to play
Um, to date, I guess,
to date?
Cenerentola, absolutely. That was a favorite. That was a highlight. She is a very special character to me. I think I told you, Warren, when I so not only did I have thyroid cancer, I broke my back around 2007 in a plane accident. Um it was, I mean, it wasn't a crash or anything like that. It was just an accident. And I had my left side a little bit paralyzed, and I had a lot of trouble walking, and I was so worried about the surgery, not because of a spine surgery. What I was mostly worried about was, oh my gosh, they're gonna put a tube down my throat and they might wreck my vocal cords. And so I had told the anesthesiologist he has to be really, really careful because I'm an opera singer. And apparently, as they were putting me out, I was singing him this art. I don't remember any of this, but I was singing him the aria and from Cenerentola. And he was like, and I said, this is why you can't ruin my voice. And apparently, I was still going out and I was in a little twilight sleep and I'm still singing the song. And the anesthesiologist had to come and see me after I got out of recovery and say, I really think you need to go keep doing this opera because it was kind of amazing how you kept singing. And so that became my pinnacle of where I wanted to go back to, after having my spine surgery, where I wanted to go back to singing. I wanted to be that singer that was able to meet those needs of that role and be able to sing that. So that's a very, very special role to me. And the other role that I really love and is Die Knusper Hexe from Hansel and Gretel. And why
Little
is
little
because
contrast there. A
super big
little.
contrast, super big. And why? Because I love comedy. I love comedy. The serious operas, I like them, but my heart really lives in comedy. And I had the pleasure of doing Die Knusper Hexe, and they ma- we made her funny, and it is hard singing, and it is the other thing that I love is it's in my mother tongue. It's in German, and I love that. So for me, I have a lot of facility in German. My mother is German. There's the first words I remember. My grandmother speaking to me as well, and so it's I feel at very at home in German. And so singing in my mother tongue, wonderful. And then she can be a really funny. I know it's dark, but she can be a funny lady.
Yeah,
And
why don't you explain who she is for
oh, oh, okay. So in the Hansel and Gretel story, die Knusper Hexe, she's the witch. She's the witch that's trying to cook them up and put them and eat them. And and eat these children. She's the one that lives in the gingerbread house. Um, and she has a big aria, and she has, I mean, I think it's literally 25 minutes of work, but it's the most bang for your buck that you can get as a worker. You're not as a singer rather. You're not singing from top to bottom of this 2-hour opera. You're then there for the most crucial 25 minutes, and then you're on break. And everybody remembers the witch. And so being a little bit of a villain, but also a villain with humor, that it kind of appeals to me. And we did an outreach one day with it, and I was thinking to myself, well, how am I going to sing the witch's ride without a broomstick? They can't fly me all over this room. I don't understand how I'm going to do that. So I put my head together with the director, and we got a basket full of candy. And I was walking through the audience and giving candy to the little children. And, oh, would you like one? Would you like one? And most of the kids are like, ooh, get away from me. But I had this one little towhead blonde child who followed me all the way back up to the stage and was like this, no, I'd like some candy. Thank you. I would. Thank you.
Oh my
And
gosh,
so
what
I
a
was
moment.
like, I think I need to have a conversation with your mom. So,
Yeah.
that made the audience laugh. And I don't know. There's something about it. I don't know. Maybe it's growing up German as well. There's something about these stories that lives in you. So it really, it resonates with me. And it's, like I said, it's a lot of bang for your buck as a performer, and everybody remembers you. So, so that's fun. I like those characters.
So fast forwarding a little bit, I don't know of any musicians that in some way haven't been impacted by the pandemic this last year. And it was really a rewarding conversation talking to you about the fact, number one, that you're still finding ways to work, but you're also finding ways to, and whether you take this as a sacred term or a secular term, have a kind of music ministry to use music for healing people. Uh, while a lot of us are very nervous about when we're going to be able to perform again, I'd like to hear, and I'm sure our audience would like to hear, how you've used that time.
Sure. First, I think I did what everybody did, which was just be utterly shocked. I had 2 years worth of contracts that got canceled, which was horrible. I was actually right in the middle of a performance with the industry. We were doing a piece that is really close to my heart, called Sweetland, and it was during our second weekend run, and we had 4 weekends. We were supposed to be going for an entire month, that we got canceled, and it was that aborting of the middle of a project where you don't even get to see it through was so shocking that I think I was in a stupor for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and just like playing with puzzles and staring at the TV. I didn't quite know what to do with myself. And then as pandemic wore on, my husband and I did a lot of house renovations ourselves. And, for me, the way that I deal with that kind of stress is finding projects to do and put my anxiety and energy into. And, once we ran out of projects to do, I thought to myself, okay, what am I going to do next? And for about the past 10 years, my father, or 10 years ago, my father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. And the legacy of that disease just kind of sat with me in a really hard way. There was nothing I could do to help him. There's no way. It's in my opinion one of the worst diseases. I mean, I know that's a really silly thing to say, but it's a disease where you're watching your loved one deteriorate in front of you mentally and then physically, and then it is a long, long, long road to death. And forgive me, it's still emotional to talk about. But watching my father, who was double PhD, Mensa, my father was brilliant. And when I was a child, he would speak to me like an adult, and I'd sit there thinking, wow, I can't wait till I'm older and I have this vocabulary that I can speak with my dad intelligently and not feel like I don't know what he's saying. I have no idea what he's saying. And what was sad to me is that when I got to that point is when my father started deteriorating right when I was in college. And I started volunteering. Oh, well, I noticed that my father would remember things and remember me. He didn't really remember me, but he would remember me through music and Carmen specifically. And he loved music. My mother would leave music on him for him all the time, and that seemed to revive him in some way. And so I started working with Alzheimer's Los Angeles and other Alzheimer's Enliven units in Los Angeles about 10 years ago, and really advocating for music as a therapeutic intervention for people with Alzheimer's. It gives you a moment of reprieve for the caregivers as well as the people suffering. And I can't even imagine what it'd be like to be locked in your own body and not know. I think one of the things that my father would say to me over and over again is they took away my words. I don't know how to say this. They took my words. I don't know how to say it. And that was truly heartbreaking. And that's even if you ask them, okay, how was your day? What did you do today? I don't know. I can't tell you, and that was a passion project. So aside from all the operatic and concert work I was doing, my passion project was really to bring music to Alzheimer's patients. And I did that voluntarily. And then I started working with a company called Songs by Heart. And then LA Opera during the pandemic said, "Hey, would you come and do a music to remember with us? And we will try to see how we can meet people's needs and their isolation in this way." And I thought, wow, that's really great. That's really amazing. And then I thought to myself, um, I love that all these companies want to do this, but all these companies, their main form of work is like, so for the opera, it's the opera, and for Songs by Heart, they're in Chicago, they're not here in Los Angeles. And I thought, all of these people during pandemic that I worked with, they're now abandoned and they have nothing, and the nursing homes are shut down. So around April, I created a company called Music Heals Minds, which works as a musical intervention for brain trauma and for trauma like Alzheimer's, trauma like brain injury, trauma like any kind of spinal cord and body injury, any kind of trauma that deregulates the brain, and people have a hard time coming out of. People are no longer present. That's the same thing with Alzheimer's and trauma. You live in the past, you live in the trauma all the time. And that's true with Alzheimer's. Your last memories, your last things, you're always living in the past, or you're swirling things from the past around in your head over and over again, or you're making things up. You are not present. So music is one of those miraculous things that help bring the brain to being present, help bring the nervous system to being present. And I started a class with taking classes with one of the foremost leading psychiatrists and science researchers in the field, Dr. Bessel von Kolk in Massachusetts. And it's a 7-month long course. And I'm learning all about how trauma and the brain work, and how we can do things to re-regulate the nervous system and the lymphatic system and the limbic system, and get the brain back online to being present. And music is one of those things that does it. So it has been my tremendous pleasure and honor to be working in this field, and now to be opening it up and really saying, this is what I want to do. This is how I would like to leave the world a better place.
So, is there a way that, I mean, this is just extraordinary work, and I'm wondering, is there a way that people can help you in your endeavors?
Oh my gosh, yes. If anybody knows any homes or nursing homes, enliven units, or bigger groups that need this kind of a service, I would love an introduction. Or if anybody is interested in volunteering, I would love, 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 love people. I also teach voice and piano, and I've been pairing up my students with senior citizens in nursing homes and creating a pen pal exchange with music and videos. And if anybody's interested in that, I would love that. Just a way to help people connect, be community, and help each other. I mean, I think that's the best thing that we could possibly do, you know.
And you do have
Or if
oh,
any sponsors are out there, we would love that as well, because we are brand new. We just got our 501c3 in the mail last month. So if anybody knows anybody who's looking for a place to donate, we will take that as well.
congratulations. Yeah, maybe there's some fundraisers on the horizon for you too. And do you have a website for that?
We do. It's music-heals-minds.org.
Okay. And we'll make sure, along with all of your social media and everything else, we'll prominently display that. So anyone that does
Thank
want to
you.
follow up with you can do that. Um, you also mentioned that you are branching out, looking at other forms of music too at this time. Didn't
Yes,
do I remember that?
I've been
Yes.
yes, I've been doing a lot of actually it's being in pandemic has been um strangely freeing vocally. All of a sudden I have this setup and this rig and this great recording equipment, and I've now all of a sudden started doing music that I loved listening to, but haven't stepped out of the opera arena to do. So a little bit of jazz, a little bit of Hawaiian music, a little bit of pop, um, and um, and just stepping out of my comfort zone and doing something different that is other than opera. And it's been really fun, cabaret, and just really lovely. So yeah.
So we'll look for those recordings too, and I'm sure
Absolutely.
they'll be available with the links you supply
Yeah,
as they become available.
on my
Okay,
YouTube and
beautiful.
SoundCloud. Yeah.
Beautiful. We do have a couple audience questions.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Uh, Number one, what's the most important thing you do for your voice and habits you can recommend to singers?
Sure. Well, most important thing I can do for my voice is just really be graceful with it. I can't treat it I can't treat it like a robot where it just can come online and do what I need by demand. It's the only instrument that we are attached to. So just taking care of my body the best way possible to make sure that my instrument can function at top capacity. So for me, that means no dairy, mainly because I'm lactose intolerant and it creates mucus for me. So doing things like that, staying hydrated. Um, One of my secrets is to eat a lot of pineapple, because pineapple is a natural antibacterial, and it I just love pineapple. So I eat pineapple. It helps like clean up whatever gunk you have on your throat, and coconut water is really hydrating. So those are the two things that I do regularly, and if I ever feel a cold coming on, I eat a little more pineapple. So those are some
And it
vocal
gets you
tips.
in the mood for hula too, right?
Exactly, exactly. And then just trying to stay in shape as much as possible, even during pandemic. I mean, I'm I have a girlfriend who I box with twice a week, and she has a boxing setup, and I have one here at the house, and just trying to stay in shape so this way I'm not it's not such a giant surprise when we come out of pandemic and we start singing live again. Yeah.
Okay. Another question. If you had to pick a favorite aria, what would it be and why?
Oh geez. My favorite aria. Uh, Operatic aria or just any kind of aria from like oratorio? Oh, sorry, there's so many things. What would you say, Warren? Like operatic or?
Sure, operatic.
I guess it would be Vivaldi's Agitata da Due Venti. It is the craziest thing you have ever heard in your entire life. There is so much coloratura in it. It is a beast of an aria. It is a beast. It's one of my favorites to sing. And I check in on that one regularly just to make sure that I have facility in my coloratura.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha. Uh, if you weren't a singer for or a doctor, sorry, what would you be doing?
I'd probably be a beach bum.
Okay.
I would no, that's silly. I would probably be I'd probably be some sort of a marine biologist or an oceanographic worker. I love the ocean. I can't get enough of it. Everything that it's involved with. I love it. So, yeah, I'd probably do something in marine work. Yeah.
I think we mentioned this a little bit, but you do so many things and so many diverse things. What's your average day like?
Ooh, that depends. So you can't hear it right now, but I like to joke with people that I live in a zoo. I have three parrots, exotic parrots, three dogs, two German shepherds, one corgi, a family of squirrels that I'm responsible for outside on my deck, and a family of hummingbirds. And we have the two fish that you saw behind us, and my husband. And so a lot of my morning is involved with gardening and the nature that lives in my house. So that's a typical day for me in the morning and just going through that. And I just, I'm an animal person. If I could, I'd live on a farm. It's one of my it's one of the joys and lovely things that I get to have during pandemic. And so I spent a lot of time with them and they each have their own crazy personalities and they all love music. So for my parrots in the morning, I put on, actually, it's funny enough, I put on Alexa, I put on toddler time and they do some singing with their ABCs and stuff. So it's that. And then I teach voice or I work on my projects or I learn music. And then before you know it, it's the end of the day and time to have dinner and just relax, you know?
Well, it sounds like a pretty active day. And we're gonna close off this podcast, but I would like to ask you in closing if there's anything special you'd like to say to the audience, or if what you would tell any young singers trying to decide whether they want to do music for a living.
Um, First, thank you for listening. And I hope some of my story was interesting or resonated with you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or to Warren. I'm delighted to answer anything. And then for young singers, I think I would say something that I kind of shied off when my teachers were telling me this. My teachers were telling me this in high school. Um, if you don't really love it, it's okay. You can like music, but if you can't see yourself um, living through a pandemic and seeing it through, it's okay. That is okay. You will always have music. You don't have to um, pursue something that doesn't fulfill you. So whatever you do, make sure you feel fulfilled by it and you feel respected and you feel that it gives you something. It brings you joy. It brings you up rather than bringing you down. And I will never tell anybody not to pursue something, but really think about if living out of a suitcase is your lifestyle. Really think about if rather building a home and establishing roots is your lifestyle. Whatever makes you happy is the best choice for you, and there is no right or wrong in that, and there is no shame or letting anything down or disappointing in that. It's the disappointment, it happens when you don't live your best life. So just whatever you do, do it wholeheartedly and with as much enthusiasm and joy as you can.
So a good message for kids and Nani. I just can't tell you how inspirational you are, and the world is a better place for having you in it. So keep singing, keep doing your work, and just all sorts of good luck and blessings to you.
And you too, Warren. Thank you. Thank you for this lovely podcast. Thank you.
Okay. And that's a wrap. Thank you.